Please welcome my friend, my mentor, Rev Kathryn McDowell.
Thank you, Miss Lori. Wow, are y'all out there? This is cool. I can't believe I'm here. I bet Jill can't believe she's not here. That happens with us ministers. It's like one Sunday after another, and then you get a day off, and it's like, what happened? Did the world end? How am I doing here? So thank you, Miss Lori, for that, and for the wonderful gathering of all of you here. Happy Thanksgiving. How many of you gave thanks at Thanksgiving? Okay. My friend Darlene has a blessing, and we'll do it in restaurants all the time if there's just the two of us or a gang of us. And we all hold hands and we close our eyes. How many of you are willing to do a blessing in a restaurant out loud? No Christians, okay. So, so you all hold hands. Do that right now. Pretend like you're at the dining table. Okay, close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath, and you'll know this one, so join me when you can. You ready? Yum. So it is. So it is. It's a wonderful thing. But how many of you did a blessing after Thanksgiving? John. There you go. John O'Donoghue, wonderful Irish priest who has written phenomenal books. He wrote a blessing for after the dinner. And it's recognizing these people that we have been with. And the wonder and the joy that we have shared together. And that we take that out with us beyond this gathering. And let it continue to bless us and the rest of the world. So we have the opportunity to do that every single day. To take the blessings that we receive and that we have overtly acknowledged and to take them out into the world. And that's how we go from realizing the great good in our lives. Our talk here is from going from grateful, and that equals being grateful. So the great is the magnificent things in our lives that allow us to be blessed, to move forward, to enjoy one another's company, to have great value in our own company, and allow that to continue to feed us throughout our days. But most of us tend to, gee, that was fun. And then in the next 10 minutes, we're complaining about how it was better than the one that we last saw, which was really bad. And we're constantly moving back into this negative atmosphere and then complaining that we live in a negative atmosphere. Anybody have that experience? You notice I didn't say anybody guilty of that. I said, has anybody had that experience? As sinners, yes. And backsliders, we called them in my church. So, what we're about today is to look at the concepts of how do we make our lives great? How do we make our lives yummy? So that any time our mouths open, that's what comes out. One of our great religious science teachers, Dr. Peggy Bassett from Huntington Beach, she always said, if you want to know what you're filled with, see what spills out when you're jostled. That's a real gotcha to sit with that. Because how many times have we thought, I'm going to be happy in this gathering. I'm not going to be upset with my brother-in-law. I'm going to go through this and it's going to be a lovely day. And we walk in the room and this other person shows up in our mouth and yells and says stupid things. Nobody ever did that. God, Jill's doing good work out here. Okay. But the thing of it is each of us has the opportunity to constantly build within ourselves. Lori said that I love Dr. Holmes' quotes, and one of them, stop laughing, one of the ones that's most important to me is in his book of Words That Heal Today. And he says, as individuals, we cannot wait for the entire mass of humanity to properly interpret the blueprint of the divine plan. He said, when enough individuals have built rightly, the vast throng waiting for something to restore their faith will likewise begin to build. And therefore it is the right and the obligation and the privilege of each to rebuild their own temple, casting aside all counterfeit materials and supplying it only with the finest materials of love, of cooperation, and of peace. Now that sounds really long, and like who could want to remember that? I did. Because I'd been saying to my sister, I said, some church denominations, they have a great commission to go out and save souls, or to change the planet, or to bring people to their way of thinking, whatever that may be. And I asked myself, what is the great commission of a religious scientist? And she gave me that quote out of the Holmes book. And it totally, to me, tells exactly who we are and what we're about as individuals. See, we didn't come here to be a band of people to go out and do something as an identified body, a band. We teach ourselves to be individual and to be that unique, individualized expression of God or Spirit, or however we want to reference that. And in being that unique, individualized expression, each of us brings something different to the party. How many of you had a potluck for Thanksgiving? Everybody brought a little bit of everything. We all bring something to the party. And sometimes it's our best, and sometimes it's what we grabbed on the way in the store there. Okay? Some of you did that, apparently. Okay. We want to bring our best to it. We want to be the greatest that we can be with the people that we really care about. So what's happening then, as we grow into these individuals of greatness, of spiritual dimension, we realize that what we really do want is to be the greatness of spirit. Not just to say that in an egotistical way, oh, look at me, I walk and talk the message. No, what we want is to create the world that we want by each of us being that greatness. Each of us being all of those dimensions that we talk about as spirit in the first step of treatment. God is beauty and joy and peace and laughter. It is wholeness and happiness. It is compassion, givingness. All of those attributes that we speak about in the first step of treatment, we want to own those when we get to the second step of unification and say, I am that. I am that. And if we find out there are days and applications where we are not that, then we continue on and say, I now speak my word, that the growing edge in me is a fuller expression of the peace and the joy and the love and the happiness and the kindness of spirit, uniquely as me. Uniquely as me. Nobody does God better than us. Can I say it that way? Each of us. Each of us. And so when you think that God is kind of limited and there isn't much to talk about, look at all the people around you and look at each one as that individual, as that unique expression, and say, wow, this is what God looks like through you, as you today. Now that sounds like a great deal when we see all these great things on the commercials these days about Christmas and everybody giving, and aren't these wonderful kind people, and the first responders, and we celebrate these people and these people and these people. Are we willing to say that same thing about the person in line with us at the grocery store who has way too many things for the quick checkout and can't find their wallet in their purse or their back pocket. And can we stand there and look at them and say, my, this is what God looks like as you today. Wow. And stand in awe of the recognition that the fullness of Spirit gets bigger and bigger when we're willing to see all of it. When we're willing to see all of it. And we don't want to see ugly, do we? We don't want to see sad. We don't want to see things that are painful. My mantra for myself has always been, and I try to shake it and get something new, but it always comes back to this. If God is all there is, how many agree with that? Spirit's all there is, universal substance, whatever you want to call it. It's all there is. If this exists, it must be some expression of the divine. It might be the hangnail. It might be the sadness. It might be the illness. It might be the blatant anger that's showing up. It might be the bad behavior that we think that they should be locked up in prison for. If God is all there is, it must be this too. Okay, so then we do the thing about God is not bad, God is good, and this was bad. Holmes tells us that what we think is what we produce. And if we think the thing called badness, sadness, illness, anger, poverty, and so on, we will continue to create those. Why? Because we're that unique expression too. And when we say, let there be, there is. I have called it into being by the power of my voice, which is only the residence of the Spirit as I understand it through me as me. So how in the world can I look at some of the foolish things I have done, some of the ridiculous, some of the not very good things that I know I have done, and say this too is God? It's because of that thing we call oneness. Because I go back again to my mantra. If this is all there is, if this was all that everything came from, I must celebrate this as well. And then, as was said earlier, I must choose. I must choose whether I will be angry about it. I must choose whether I will be kind about it. I must choose whether I will be forgiving. And it is in my choosing that creates the rest of my day, that creates the rest of my world, that creates the experience I have of it from that moment on. Holmes tells us very emphatically, there's only one power, but we use it in two ways, either to destroy or to save. He said the blessing and the curse are one and the same thing. The power of mind used either affirmatively or negatively is what that blessing and curse are. And the word used in fear and doubt or in faith or assurance is what that is. He says we are richly repaid physically, materially, and spiritually when we adhere to the laws of infinite mind. So here we go about and we see things on the news that we don't like. And we jump in and the first thing is we say, I don't like that. That's wrong. Shame on them. Isn't that the usual progression? We acknowledge we don't like it, which is a good thing, because if we don't acknowledge we don't like it, we won't change it. Okay? And then shame on them, and it shouldn't happen that way. So that is usually then what we carry in our minds for a while. And we repeat the story, don't we? Oh, listen, I heard that da-da-da-da-da, and we go on and on and on and on and on, and we keep filling our world with more of the aided awfuls, as I call them, and wonder why it keeps following us. Wonder why we can't shake it. And when we are ultimately the ones in charge, we can use it as a blessing or a curse. We can use it as a place of acknowledging of, that's not who I am. Did I act that way? It's a balancing scale for us to realize where our greatness lies. And as we do that on a day-to-day basis, as we work within ourselves to continuously realize the greatness of spirit that we are, then we begin to be more selective, more awakened to what it is we really want to build for ourselves. And when we look at the goodness, instead of feeding the difficulties, then we become greater, we become larger, we become magnified into the light of the universe that is wanting to express through us as the light of the universe, rather than the things that we allow to stick to us and bog us down. It was like that little commercial about the kid with the Skittle pox. You know, we let stuff stick to us. And we wonder why we look so ugly in the mirror. Because we have allowed ourselves to evolve, or devolve if you prefer, into this spiral of difficulty, of pain, of shame, of it'll never get any better. And why can't they? And so the exciting, are you depressed yet? The exciting part, everybody, okay. It's like, oh man, she's going to talk about me next. The exciting part about religious science, science mind, new thought, is that we get to choose. We get to choose. We get to wake up. Ralph Waldo Emerson said a wonderful thing. He said, finish each day and be done with it. You've done with it what you could. You shall awake tomorrow too filled with your beauty and your joy than to be bothered with your old nonsense. And so that's what we get to do, breath by breath, moment by moment, thought by thought, to allow ourselves to move forward, to get into a better place of awareness and consideration of who we are and what we're choosing to be and to do. Excuse me. Ernest Holmes says, on his basic ideas, he says, the first thing we do is to get comfortable. Now, usually what we do is we get uncomfortable enough and then we make a change. I'm asking you to get comfortable enough that you can be effective in making a change. And then Holmes says, forget about the apparent need. You need to go get a job. You need to stop seeing Bob. You need to send money to your children. Stop the needs and look at what's really going on. Forget about the apparent need. It looks like it's about money. It looks like it's about relationship. No, it's not. It's about kindness, and it's about peace, and it's about gratitude. He says, think about how many blessings you have. The little simple things. The little simple things. How many of you got a surprise income in the last 90 days? Insurance refund, discount on something. Okay, how many of you got a smile from someone when you least expected it? See, it's those little tiny things that become the skittle pox for us, that allow us to stick those on instead of the glommed on ugliness that we seem to cater to for some reason. He said, think about how many blessings, about the simple things in our lives. And then he said, be grateful. And he said, and say so. Karen Drucker has a wonderful song that she does. She says, gratitude before me. Gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful. Do any of you do that on a daily basis? Maybe not the whole song, but it's like, wow, this is a great day. I'm so happy. When you love your pets, you're grateful, aren't you? When the check comes, you're grateful, aren't you? But there's so many other little things that we can use. And then Holmes says, speak your word softly, truthfully, and happily. What happens when we're in stress is we tend to close our fists and say, God, I hope this day's over soon. Can you feel that in your body? Can you feel that in your heart? Can you feel that in your aura and your soul? Absolutely. And so speaking our words softly and trustfully and truthfully and happily, that's our goal. That's our goal. Holmes says, how do we live in a state of gratitude? Every day, every hour, we are meeting the eternal realities of life. And in such a degree, as we cooperate with these eternal realities in love and peace and wisdom and in joy and believing and receiving, he said, to that degree we are automatically happy. And so that's why I chose the title as I did for today. The great, G-R-E-A-T, full. Are we full of the great and glorious and wonderful things in our lives? If we're doing that, then gratitude and feeling grateful, in the normal spelling, is an automatic thing. It's an automatic thing. It's how we evolve as a species, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. We see the good, we celebrate it, and we glorify it inside ourselves, if you can use that phrasing, and allow ourselves to understand this is a pretty good gig I'm on. This really works for me. Oh, I've got a few little things I need to tweak. I've got a little hip that's bothering me. I've got a this or a that. But that's not our whole life. Our whole life is to be a dimension of spirit, expressing joyfully, effortlessly, and in complete joy. Holmes tells us that prayer has power not through the repetition of it, but by belief and acceptance. Prayer is to be simple, direct, and receiving. So we just declare, and so it is. Now, this is a trick you can pull on yourself. When you find yourself in one of those moods, you know those moods? It's like my nephew assumes the mudra, the position of it, to a family thing that we've always used. It says, nobody loves me, everybody hates me, I'm going to go out and eat a woolly worm. See, that's our bad day, all right? And so what we get to do, though, is we get to, in that moment, say, all is well. When we see ourselves being that, doing that, believing that, we simply stop and say, I am so blessed. This too is God. What a great day this is. I am a dimension of the fullness and the greatness of spirit. However you want to expand that out for yourself, to allow it to be absorbed in you so that the next step that we take is in that kind of faith, in that kind of beauty, in that kind of joy. And then we have what they call spiritual discernment, because we see what we have and we see it within as well as without. And that's where we take it and make it real for us. Changing our direction, changing our desires, changing what it is that we really are choosing for life to be. There was a teacher, and people would come to her with all kinds of ailments. They had physical ailments, they had emotional and social difficulties. And no matter what they said to her, she would have them repeat this. I am grateful for everything. I have no complaints whatsoever. You don't have to raise your hand, but how many of you can say that today? Honestly. Honestly with yourself. And so someone would come to her and they were disappointed or they were angry or they were trying to argue, and she would just say, are you willing to drop your complaints? Are you willing to say, I am grateful for everything? Would you say that with me? I am grateful for everything. Breathe that in just a moment. Here's the other part. Repeat after me. I have no complaints whatsoever.
I have no complaints whatsoever.
Breathe that in. Wouldn't that be wonderful? If you could honestly feel having no complaints whatsoever, no body pains, no neighbor pains, no government pains, no TV pains. I am grateful for everything. Everything. As an example of the totality of Spirit through me, as me. My friend Nan Henderson used to say, everybody reads it wrong. She says, in the Bible it says it's done unto you as you believe. She says they don't read it correctly. She says what it really says is, it's done unto you as you. Now believe that. That's where we slip up. And so this whole idea of science of mind, religious science, it's what's going on in here, not what's going on out here. And so it is done unto me as I'm projecting it out there through my belief systems. And I can't change what's out here 90% of the time, 10%, who knows? I cannot change what is out here. What can I change? My thinking about it. That builds our understanding of what greatness really is. That allows us to move into a greater dimension of ourself and our soul and our ability to be free of the upsets that tilt our cart the wrong way when we're going around that curve. All right. Thank you for everything. I have no complaints. Joe, would you give us our quote there? Instead of asking for the stuff that we want, let's start being grateful for the stuff that we've already created. Let us start being aware of how good that is in our lives. Hey, that's pretty good. Let's go to that one. We're good. We're good. They both are good. All right. So, Holmes says that just as life belongs to the one who lives it, to the one who takes it, so the fuller life belongs only to the one who scatters every good that we have. What happens is we build up this consciousness of goodness and greatness and joy and abundance and safety and awareness and expansion, and we give that away to everybody else. And how do we do that? We do it when we talk to them. We do that when we interact with them. We do that when we send a Christmas card. We do that when we send a check. Whether it's early or late, doesn't matter. We are giving a part of ourselves when we do that. The fuller life belongs only to the one who scatters every good she or he has. So we're coming upon the giving season. What would you like to give your family? Oh yeah, there's the things. And there's the things we'd like to receive also, the things. But what if we gave a different dimension of ourselves? What if we gave a greater, more full dimension of ourselves and who we are with and what we are doing, and allowing that to express through us in a dynamic way? Let's have that other one, Joe. This goes right along with that. We should allow the gifts of life to flow out of everything we touch, everyone we meet, every situation we contact. Then, wherever we go, every situation is already blessed, every person is helped, every discord is harmonized without our even being conscious of it. In one of the dedications of one of our churches, Dr. Holmes said, the consciousness of the people in this center should be so magnified that people will drive by on the street without even knowing we're in here, let alone what we're doing, and they will be healed. That's the power of this greatness that we have, that we get to be grateful for. That our consciousness heals, our consciousness expands, our consciousness blesses, our consciousness helps. It harmonizes discord. And it brings us into a place of a sanity we didn't even dream of before. And we get to do that work as individuals. We cannot wait for the entire mass of humanity to properly interpret the blueprint of the divine plan. A lot of people know this better than we do, but not everybody knows this. We can't wait until everybody does, because when enough individuals have built rightly the consciousness of peace and poise and power, the consciousness of gratitude and kindness and gentleness, the ability to see the divine in every single action, every voice, every face, that's when we will build with love and with cooperation and peace. I'd kind of like that for Christmas, wouldn't you? I'd kind of like that today before the day's over. So our work is cut out for us. Our work is cut out for us. As Emerson said, we shall begin tomorrow with too high a consciousness to bother with our own foolishness. And every day and every moment we're moving into that. Holmes says it is quite a burden lifted when we realize that we do not have to move the world. It's going to move anyway. The realization does not lessen our duty and our social responsibilities, though. It clarifies it. It enables us to do joyously and free from any sadness or morbidity that which we should do in our social state anyway. So the question being, how great is your greatness at the moment? How great is your gratefulness? How great is the ability to understand the concept of our consciousness leading the way rather than someone else's consciousness pushing us down the hall? Our consciousness of joy and of peace and of harmony and gladness is what leads our way. Are you taking the kind of journey you want to take? Let's do a little prayer work here. Join me, please. Just take that nice deep breath. We call into conscious awareness this moment. The beauty and the joy and the peace that we know Spirit is. Those blessings that we have received until this moment. The blessings that we feel assured of in the moments going forward. We're calling into that place of this moment and stating out loud our gratitude for all the goodness that we have perceived in our lives. And allowing it to settle inside of us in a deeper way. I'm going to ask each of you to say out loud, as softly or loudly as you choose, a declaration of your gratitude right now in this moment. We recognize, we declare, we experience how glorious it is. So in this moment, we bring to the forefront of our consciousness all the goodness that has blessed our lives, all of the goodness we have seen in other lives, all of the beauty of Spirit that we understand at our core but may not have seen as much as we would like in our lives thus far. And we take it all and declare it as the all in our own consciousness. God is simply all there is. And it is the simplest thing of all. It is the simplest thing of all. So as we move about our lives, each of us in such unique ways, we claim the greatness of Spirit in our lives, to the point of being full and overflowing. And the resulting flood of gratitude and kindness and joy and appreciation and a sense of sharing and the dynamic experience of Spirit. This is what is the result. We declare that for ourselves. We declare our gratitude of it existing in our lives and in all people. We share that wealth in spreading our arms open wide, both to give as well as to receive. We bless this center and all the people in it and all the activities that take place around and about it. We bless the expansion of it into the community in a larger way, with each individual carrying the light in their own unique way. We are grateful that this changes our lives, those we touch most closely, and ultimately not just the entire world, but the entire cosmos. And in gratitude for that reality, the reality of that, I release this treatment and absolutely claim and know beyond a shadow of a doubt, it is done. And so it is.